Texas Rangers allow it to 50.
Already a hotbed of professional sports, DFW gets another one.
A club for everyone. Un club para todos.
A new pro soccer league, a new women's team will call Dallas home.
Creating the accurate impression that Dallas wants to make deals.
The team owner takes our questions in studio. Then we zoom in on two Republican candidates aiming to fill a massive state Senate seat in North Texas.
A real difference in our records, a resume, if you will.
One argues he has the experience and the endorsements. The other says he has independence.
I have principles that I stand on, and I stand by those convictions. I'm honest about them.
Will a lawsuit impact the outcome? We look into it and more right now.
This is Lone Star Politics from NBC5 and the Dallas Morning News.
Another professional women's team is headed to Dallas. It was just 2 weeks ago when the Dallas Wings said they'll play at the Dallas Convention Center. Now a new pro women's soccer team will take the field at the historic Cotton Bowl this summer. Good Sunday morning. I'm Phil Prazan from NBC5.
And I'm Gromer Jeffers, political writer with the Dallas Morning News. This morning we begin with professional soccer returning to the city of Dallas.
The Cotton Bowl is no stranger to the game. FC Dallas played there back when the team was known as the Dallas Burn. In 1994, the stadium hosted the World Cup, and more recently, Lionel Messi and the Inter Miami team played before a sold-out crowd at the Cotton Bowl. Dallas Trinity FC will launch in Dallas. It is one of 8 new teams in the USL Super League. They start in August, and there may be more teams by next season. Joining us this morning, Charlie Neal, president of Dallas Trinity FC. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So you must be excited.
That would be an understatement. Yeah.
Well, look, the city of Dallas, the council, the mayor, they're all in on this. Kicked in, roughly $600,000 over 2 years in taxpayer money. From your perspective, what is the city going to get out of this? What is Dallas getting out of this venture?
I hope a lot of excitement and vibrancy down in Fair Park and at the Cotton Bowl, but really not just in that area, across the city. It's, you know, we've been overwhelmed with the amount of support this community has shown for this club. And I think really this is the culmination of just the direction that women's sports is going. And women's soccer is the most popular women's sport in the world, and Dallas has been so deserving of a team, so it's really great to bring it home.
Yeah, women's sports, it is taking off, not just soccer, but, you know, basketball, tennis. But let me ask you, there have been minor sports franchises that have come and gone in Dallas. What gives this franchise staying power?
Well, firstly, it's a major franchise. So the USL Super League, the league that we're a part of, is a Division I league. So what that means is U.S. soccer.
That's a good point, because some people think baseball, football, that. Okay.
Yeah, U.S. soccer is the governing body of all soccer in the United States. They're the one that tell a league that they can go on and operate, and they'll qualify it as Division I, Division II, and there's different standards that those leagues have to uphold, and that's the quality of stadium, the quality of market, the quality of investment. And so our league, all of the clubs participating meet the highest standard, and we're certainly one of those clubs. So from a long-term viability standpoint, we're confident that the league's going to sustain but also thrive, and Dallas will be a big part of that.
So I asked Chuck Cooperstein, longtime radio voice of the Dallas Mavericks, who has, you know, over decades has seen team ideas. Yeah. He's seen team ideas come and go. So I asked him what makes one succeed compared to one fail. Here's what he told us.
Quite frankly, you know, no one starts a team and makes money right away. That just doesn't happen, and it takes a while. And you've got to be committed to the concept of you got to lose money in order to make money, or spend money in order to make money. And, you know, and not cut corners, and really try to do it as right as you can possibly do it. And some are obviously able to do it better than others. But really there's got to be an infrastructure within the team to make it work, but there's got to be an infrastructure within the larger league. in order to make it work. There's got to be significant backing to be willing to take on losses until they ultimately are able to turn a profit.
So I know there's a 2-year agreement right now, but it's a new team, new league. Is this going to go more than 2 years? You're confident it will go more than 2 years?
We are confident, and Chuck nailed it. He's exactly right. You are making a front-end investment in this club with the hope that long-term it succeeds, right? And a lot of the investment up front is about growing the audience, growing that brand affinity, growing your impact in the community, and those are all things that lend itself for a club succeeding long-term.
And you'll be playing at the Cotton Bowl. It seats 90,000 people. The pros of the Cotton Bowl are it's there and available. The cons, it's very big. Probably won't be able to fill it 90,000 people. How are you going to handling kind of like the optics of it?
Right. We are so thrilled to play at the Cotton Bowl, a historic venue. I mean, you can't say the Cotton Bowl Stadium without thinking first-class, professional, major league, right? And we understand everything you're saying. It's a big venue, but that excites us. What room to grow into, and we're fully confident that this market's going to get behind this team, fill that stadium up, create a vibrant environment. What's so great about soccer is what a diverse fan base, and that the music, the culture, the noise. It's going to look great in there.
Who are your fans here in North Texas? Have you identified them? But who will be going to your game?
Yeah, we really hope our fan base is reflective of the neighborhood that we're playing in, and the city that we're playing in, and then the metroplex we're playing in. So I think you're going to see a lot of, firstly, families of young girls and boys who play soccer that are really excited to get to go to a professional game and have strong female role models out there playing on the field that young girls can aspire to play to. But more than that, this city is growing so rapidly and growing in a diverse manner. Soccer is the perfect sport to come out and support and be a part of the community that we're in, and we're really excited about having a product that can service that.
Charlie Neal, president of the new Dallas Trinity FC.
It's a family affair.
It is a family
affair. Your father owns the team, and your siblings are involved. So
yeah,
good luck.
Thank you.
Season starts in August.
Season starts mid-August. The schedule should be coming out shortly.
All right, well, thanks for being here.
Thank y'all.
Experience versus independence. Still ahead, a look at a heated race for a seat in the Texas Senate. We'll hear from the candidates looking to represent District 30, stretching across North Texas.
Plus, the road to the White House rolls through Texas when former President Trump and RFK Jr. will bring their campaigns to the Lone Star State. You're watching Lone Star Politics. The race continues to fill the seat of outgoing Republican State Senator Drew Springer, who is not seeking re-election. The seat sits north of DFW and stretches across several counties. This morning, we're hearing from 2 Republicans headed to a runoff on May 28th.
Senator Springer's announcement came quick and surprised many, and several candidates had to quickly jump in the race. Now it's down to 2, Air Force veteran and attorney Jace Yarborough versus U.S. Navy veteran and business executive Brent Hagenbu. Hagenbu's opponents have challenged his residency in court. That lawsuit is ongoing but hasn't stopped his campaign. Meanwhile, Hagenbu has more big-name endorsements by far. Former President Trump, Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Texans for Lawsuit Reform, State Senator Drew Springer, and 9 other state senators. Far from January 1st through April 24th, he's raised $104,000 with a big donation from the Dan Patrick campaign. He also took out a loan of more than $1 million, according to state paperwork. Why vote for you and not Jace Yarborough?
You bet. Well, I think the people of essentially District 30 have a hiring decision to make, essentially. When you think about hiring, I think about resume and references, or essentially record and the endorsements. And I just have a much stronger record of successful leadership. If you think about it, I'm a Naval Academy graduate, served 13 years active duty as a Navy officer, 3 deployments overseas as a CB company commander. My opponent was an Air Force officer, but he had some problems there, and he'll admit that he's not promotable in the Air Force. Difference in record there. In terms of our business life, I'm a businessman, started the business here, this trucking company, 18 years ago. A big one is the Republican Party. I've been involved in the Republican Party for many years. In Denton County, I was a precinct chair, I think 9 years ago, done many other leadership roles, and then most recently was elected to be the Denton County Republican Party chairman.
Your argument is you have spent more time sweat equity in the Republican Party locally compared to him.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. Absolutely, yes. But that also shows a level of commitment to our conservative cause. If you want to know who's going to work for and get the Texas Republican Party legislative priorities passed, you can bet on me. I've been working on it for years, and I'll continue to fight for that conservative cause. So that's the kind of the resume or record, and that leads to references or endorsements.
There's an ongoing lawsuit. A court has not stopped you from running. What's your perspective on that? I mean, so
sure.
Because you have a house outside of the district that I believe is your homestead, but your argument is your legal residence is where?
That's right, here in Denton. It's not actually my homestead. The other one. We have 2 homes. That home's on the lake. This is where we live. This is our residence. And that's been argued over and over again. That my opponent keeps bringing it. He's a trial lawyer. He keeps bringing it back to court. He's lost every time. My residency is being reaffirmed. I think he's kind of beating a dead horse at this point. It's really just a campaign tactic. At this point, when I go out and talk to people in the district, at this point, that issue doesn't even come up. They want to hear about, what I'm for, how I'm going to help the Senate District 30.
And just so I understand, and people who have questions, so your legal residence is this building?
We were here in this building because of some of the hullabaloo around the whole thing. Everything, we moved across the way for a little while, and actually in the apartment complex right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have an apartment across the way.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And we will probably eventually be back here, but we had a little issue with the certificate of occupancy, whether it being the right one, and we decided the best thing based on some of the attention we were getting was to do that. But over time, I think we'll be back.
In this building. So the long-term plan is to have an apartment here?
Yep.
And then in the meantime, you're across the street?
Yes, correct, yes.
What would be your priorities if elected in the Texas Senate?
You bet, yeah. Obviously, we got to secure the border. That's the number one thing. It's gotten to be a ridiculous level. I think during the Biden administration, we've had something like 10 million illegals come across the border. It's just out of control. And that's why I'm proud of the governor, how he stood up, declared an invasion, stood up to the federal government. We as Texans need to secure our own border. I think we secured or appropriated like $6 billion in the last session. I'm not for spending Texans taxpayer dollars for reducing that, but in this case, this is one area where I would support that for whatever it takes to secure the border, wall, technology, manpower. And I think it's critical, and I'm really supportive of the governor now at this point, what he's doing, Project Lone Star or Operation Lone Star. Now, my opponent's been critical of that. One of the best parts, I think, about Operation Lone Star is how the governor has shipped these illegals up to these sanctuary liberal cities. I think that's great. My opponent, he said he's against that. So that's one of the key things, is securing the border.
And then Jace Yarborough doesn't have the big name endorsements, but does have the backing of some grassroots and conservative groups. Texas Right to Life, Grassroots America, We the People, and True Texas Project, along with the former chair of the Texas Republican Party, retired Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and then Kyle Rittenhouse. His contributions top $184,000. He also took out a loan, this one for about $200,000. Let's just start with why you and not Brent Hagenbu.
Yes. Well, I think what Senate District 30 needs is competent, responsive representation that's consistent with the very conservative convictions of the majority of voters in our district. This is a Trump plus 23 district, and it deserves Trump plus 23 representation. If we don't get deep conservative representation from Senate District 30, it's not going to come from anywhere else in the state. And based simply on our past records, there's no question that I am the person that has the conviction, the competence to go down and fight for the values of the people of our district.
Tell me more about that, because you're saying the district wants conservative leadership. You're saying you're more conservative than Brent Hagenbu.
Yes.
How so?
Well, in the first instance, I have principles that I stand on, and I stand by those convictions. I'm honest about them. One of the issues my opponent has is that he's basically just looking to be told what to do. And so whether it's on the issue of property taxes, the the elimination of which he has called ridiculous before in a candid conversation, or on issues of border security and what we should do with migrants who are already in the country illegally. He basically says whatever he thinks the audience in front of him wants to hear. And so he tends to do whatever the last person in front of him has pressured him to do.
So for the biggest difference, your argument is you're more independent. You're more independent than he is.
Well, independently conservative, and also just truthful. I mean, he doesn't live in our Senate district, which your viewers may be aware with the controversy surrounding that. And yet he continues to insist that, no, in fact, I have lived in basically a broom closet in a commercial office complex that my business rents since early October, even though I have $1 million lakefront property where I have lived and voted for the past 7+ years, over in Senate District 12. So it's not just about having independent principles, it's also being honest about those convictions and forthright about them.
So on the residency issue, he has a home outside the district, a big home, as you mentioned. With what we know now, legally, he has the court system that says he can run.
Oh, no, that's not true. He very much wants viewers to think that. He wants voters to think that. But the district court has said we need to go to trial. He appealed to the appeals court, and that's where it sits now. But as soon as the appeals court makes a decision, it comes back to the trial court, and we go to trial. So this is by no means final. It's not over. Everywhere I go, the voters of Senate District 30 are frustrated. They're frustrated with the rules for thee, but not for me kind of politics that plagues Washington, D.C. and Austin, and my opponent is very much just the next iteration of that. And frankly, they're sick of it.
He does have a lot of major endorsements. President Trump, Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick. What's your take on that? Why are they picking him and not you?
Well, I'm not running against any of those people. Let me be clear about that. I have one opponent and one objective. And, I am admittedly not a person who has connections to powerful friends and powerful people. I don't have a lot of money, as he does. And when I am in forums with him, I remind people, yes, please have in mind the list of all those names that my opponent just mentioned, and then include him there. He likes to do that on his signage. Have all those people in your mind. And then consider the people that have endorsed me, which includes the majority of the GOP county chairman in our district, Sheriff Babcock out in Young County, every conservative organization and group, to include Grayson County Conservatives, Parker County Conservatives, Cook County Conservatives, the Denton County Conservative Coalition. Line them all up on the other side. And what you will notice about him and all of his endorsements is that none of them live in our Senate district. And me and mine do.
The winner between Hagenbu and Yarborough will face either Michael Braxton or Del Frey in the November 5th general election. The Democrats are also in a May 28th runoff.
So, Gromer, a source told me when I had questions about this residency issue that in the state of Texas, residency is a state of mind.
It's where you say you live, typically. It's hard to prove in court because courts are reluctant to knock someone off the ballot because of a residency requirement. So it's very tough. Now, Yarborough may be right about where the legal process is, but it'll be really difficult to get a court to step in and say that this is not a legitimate candidate. So therefore, it's going to be up to the voters to decide. I mean, it's not impossible, but typically the voters really make decisions on this stuff.
And how big of a deal will the endorsements be for Hagenbu, former President Trump, probably the most popular Republican in the state, Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick?
Just look at the March 5th primary. Just look at historically with Trump. Those endorsements are huge. He will be tough to beat. It's a united front in favor of him. We'll see how it goes, though.
It's still ahead, the event bringing former President Trump to Dallas this week. Former President Trump will travel to North Texas this week. He is the keynote speaker for the annual National Rifle Association of America convention. It is being held in downtown Dallas. Trump is scheduled to speak Saturday.
Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his running mate Nicole Shanahan are also traveling to Texas. They appear at a voter rally tomorrow night in Austin.
Also tomorrow, the deadline for an independent presidential candidate to meet the requirements to get on the November 5th ballot in Texas. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. expects to meet the requirements and believes he can win Texas. Gromer, you wrote about this. He says he can win Texas. Is that going to happen?
No. No.
But he could say he could determine who loses it.
Well, perhaps. I mean, the recent poll, the latest poll, Texas Politics Project, showed him at 8%. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that could decide what the margin is between Trump and Biden, and we'll see. But winning, no. I mean, he thinks that he could rally all the people who don't like Trump, all the people who don't like Biden, and go up the middle and win. But that's just not reality in a situation where people identify as Republican and Democrat.
That's all the time we have. Stay tuned for Meet the Press with Kristen Welker.
Thanks for joining us. We hope to see you back here next week for more Lone Star Politics.